To start off, make a slip knot and then chain 42. The chain should measure about 8.5 inches or 21.5 centimeters. If you have your cup on you, if not, this is a good excuse to buy your favorite drink. Take the chain and see if it fits. The two ends should meet when the chain is slightly stretched. To join the round, you can see I'm being careful to make sure it doesn't get twisted. Just make a slip stitch into the very first chain. Now that we've made our join, chain 1. You'll see these little bumps on the back of the chain. That's where we're going to crochet into. After I've made my very first single crochet, I'm just going to grab my stitch marker to mark the beginning of my round. It can be a little bit tricky to crochet into these back bumps, so take as much time as you need. I'll meet you when I'm almost done with this first round. I'm just finishing up the last few stitches of this round. Now that it's finished, take out the stitch marker and we'll make our very first single crochet of round 2. Now I'm just going to place the stitch marker back into the very first stitch to mark the start of round 2. And starting from here, we're just going to single crochet in continuous rounds. So no more slip stitches, just single crochet all the way around for 7 more rows. Now I'm just finishing up this very last row of single crochet before we start doing the ears. For round 10, we're going to start off by making 14 single crochets. You'll see that I removed the stitch marker to make that very first single crochet, and then placed it back to mark the beginning of the round. Then we can just continue on to make the 13 remaining single crochets. Now you can see I'm just making my very last single crochet before we start the ears. To make the ears, we're going to start with 1 double crochet, then a treble crochet. I placed a stitch marker off camera just so I could get a feel for where I wanted the ears to be. So I removed that and made another treble crochet. Now 1 last treble crochet, a double crochet, and a single crochet. I'm happy with how that ear looks, so we're just going to continue and make 7 more single crochets. Now that we're done with single crochets, we're going to repeat the pattern we did before. So start off with a double crochet, treble crochet, removing my stitch marker. And now I can do the second treble crochet and the very last treble crochet. Now one double crochet and a single crochet. To finish off round 10, we're just going to single crochet until the end of the round. To finish off, remove the stitch marker, make a slip stitch, pull the yarn long, and cut it. I'm just going to pause here because in the next clip you can't really see clearly how I weaved in the end so you get a nice clean edge. So I'm just going to insert another clip so that you can see that properly. So here's our yarn tail. We're going to insert our hook into the second stitch, skip this one into this one. So inserting our hook under both loops, we're going to pull the yarn from front to back. You can stretch it out a little bit to make it more even. Now we're going to go through the back loop only of the stitch where our yarn tail starts. Pull the yarn through. And now you have this nice clean edge that we're looking for. After that, you would just weave in the tail end through the back of the work. And here you can see I just threaded my yarn needle and I'm hiding the tail in the wrong side of the work. For demonstration purposes, I'm going to show you how to crochet these pieces with this light gray yarn since it's easier to see the stitches. When you're making them, you will of course use black yarn, so just make sure you have a lot of light so you're able to see the stitches clearly. We'll be starting with the larger eye piece, so just make a slip knot, and then chain 11. Now we're going to work into the back bumps like we did earlier. Skip this first bump and then into the second one we'll make an increase. So that's one single crochet and a second one both in the same stitch. Next we'll make 8 single crochets. That was my last single crochet. Now into the last back bump, we're going to do an increase. So just like before, we'll do one single crochet, followed by one more single crochet into the same bump. Now we'll turn it to the other side. So this is just the slip knot we made at the beginning, you can ignore that. And into this very first stitch, we're going to do one half double crochet, a double crochet, and a half double crochet. And remember, these are all into the same stitch. Next, we'll make 8 single crochets. That was my very last single crochet. This last stitch is kind of hard to see, but into this last one we're going to do that very same pattern of one half double crochet, a double crochet, and then another half double crochet. So there's our half double, our double crochet, and our very last half double crochet. Now to start round 2, we'll make an increase in this stitch. I'm just going to put a stitch marker in the very first single crochet to mark the beginning of the round. Now to make 10 single crochets. That was my very last single crochet, and now we're going to do 4 increases. So this is our very first one, our second one, and here I'm just finishing off the very last increase. Our next step is to make 8 slip stitches. So that's 1, 2, 3. That was the very last slip stitch, and to finish off, we're just going to do 3 increases. So there's the first one, now the second one, and our very last increase. To finish this piece off, remove the stitch marker, make a slip stitch, pull the yarn so we have a long tail, cut it and weave in the end. Remember to make a nice clean edge using the technique we learned earlier. Now that we're done with this piece, we can move on to start making the little circles. These are pretty simple. All you have to do is make a magic circle, and now just single crochet 6 into the magic circle. Once you're done, just pull on the tail to close it up. Here you can see I'm just counting back 6 stitches from the hook and then making a slip stitch to join the round. Now we'll cut our yarn and weave in the ends. I also like to tie the 2 tail ends together, and once you've done that, you can just snip any excess off. So in total, you'll have to make 6 of these little circles. So 2 in an orangey color for his cheeks, 2 for the black circles, and then 2 white ones for his eyes. If you're wondering what that other white stuff is on his eyes, I originally tried needle felting on the eyes, but I don't really like how that ended up turning out. So just learn from my mistakes and crochet small circles for his eyes. Now for his snout, we'll take some white yarn and make a slip knot. And then chain 6. Once we've done that, we're going to single crochet 5 into the back bumps. So remember, skip the first one and then start single crocheting into the second bump. Then we're going to flip the chain over to the other side, and in the first stitch, we're going to do an increase. Now make 3 single crochets, and then an increase in that very last stitch. To start round 2, make 1 increase, and just put a stitch marker in the very first stitch to mark the start of the round. Next, make 3 single crochets, and then 3 increases. Next, make 3 single crochets, and to finish off, just make 2 increases. Now that we're done, we'll just remove our stitch marker, pull our yarn long, cut it, and weave in the ends as usual. Make the nose using some light orange embroidery floss. I like to make the outline first and then fill it in. When you're done, you can just tie the 2 tail ends together and cut off any excess. For this next part, we're going to use a technique called surface crochet. To start, we'll make a slip knot and then poke our crochet hook through the work and pull our slip knot through to the front. To continue, just push the crochet hook through the work again, yarn over and pull up our loop. Continue until you've completed the semicircle. I didn't really like how my first try turned out, so I'm going to redo it. To do this, carefully pull on your working yarn to undo the stitches. Then, place your crochet hook back into the loop and try again. Once you're done, just pull the yarn long and cut it. Then, you can pull the tail through to the other side. Once you've done that, flip your work inside out and weave in the ends. Now we have all the pieces we need to begin sewing. Make sure to sew the white circles to the black eye piece before you continue with the rest. Now we're done, and you have your very own personal Guoba cup sleeve to help keep your drinks warm on chilly days. I'm really happy with how mine turned out, and I would love to see your projects as well, so feel free to tag me on Instagram once you've completed it. You can also check out my Pinterest for more cute crochet project ideas. If you'd like to see more tutorials like this in the future, you can subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified when I post my next video. If you have any questions at all, feel free to leave a comment down below and I will try my best to answer them. Thank you again for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.